U.S. basketball star and Olympic champion Brittney Griner has now been detained in Russia for over 4 months now. And on Monday, videos showed her being led in handcuffs to a court for a preliminary hearing. Russian officials say Griner was caught with vape cartridges containing trace amounts of cannabis oil in her luggage. The charges carry a 10-year prison sentence to be served in a penal colony, and her trial is scheduled to begin in February. Griner is a 7-time WNBA All-Star for the Phoenix Mercury, and the U.S. has declared she is being, quote, wrongfully detained. The House passed a resolution just last week calling on Russia to end her detention and for the U.S. to press for her release. Also, dozens of organizations for people of color, women, and LGBTQ plus voters wrote to President Biden asking that the U.S. strike a deal with Russia to get Griner released. Joining us now, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas. She represents Griner's hometown of Houston and has been very active in efforts to get her released. And Congresswoman, do you think the Biden administration is doing enough to get Brittney Griner released from Russian custody? Do you think the U.S. should strike a deal with Russia, such as through a prisoner exchange to help to bring her back home?
Well, first of all, let me thank you for having me. Every time I come on to speak about Brittney Griner, I always mention her family and that we should keep them in prayer. But you know what? I'm outraged. Enough is enough. I've been speaking to the Biden administration officials over the last 2 days. I will say to you that they are passionately concerned. They are outraged. And of course, they believe that she is being wrongly treated and wrongly held. I think everyone knows that we passed with a great deal of help from leadership, faster than any other legislation. The House voted on a resolution demanding her release on Friday. It was introduced by myself, Congressman Stanton, and Congressman Allred. But that is not enough. And I believe that there should be a swap, and it should be done immediately. And we're pressuring that point. I know the administration wants to get her home. Paul Whelan is still there. As you well know, we engaged in a rally in Houston. Trevor Reed came. He told us how despicable, how vile, how terrible the food was, how terrible the treatment was, how he almost died. Here we have someone who 7 years fought to make, when I say fought teams in Russia as a member of a basketball team and won. An Olympian champion who, by the way, was taken right after the Olympics this year, of which Russia did very poorly. And so we think this is all about Putin's ego, Putin's anger, the war, and she should not be a victim of it. But you know what else? I think we need to have an uprising of all of our sports entities. Every sports entity. It may be the NFL. It may be hockey. It may be WNBA. It may be the NBA. Because this is a Black woman. This is the only Black woman that we know widely held. Let's get all my friends, and I'm not in any way casting aspersions, if you will, but let's get all the renowned national basketball players standing in one place demanding or coming to Washington or sending a tweet. Let me thank Maxwell, who stopped me and said, I want to do something. I want the hip hop artists to do something. I want our voices to raise up together and demand that Brittney Griner comes home. She cannot take any more time there. There are 4 months. There's how many months before the trial? The trial is bogus. There's no legal system in Russia. Absolutely none. However nice the lawyers may be, they don't have any basis of a legal system. It does not exist. And I knew that from the very moment that they were retained. We appreciate them providing information and continuing to communicate with their client, but there is no legal system. Zelinda, what is needed now is an urgent effort from the United States of America. Here you have a young woman, graduate of Nimitz High School in Houston, graduate of Baylor, Olympian, a outstanding member of both Houston and the Phoenix community. Her wife, her family are begging and praying for her to come home. And Paul Whelan's sister and mother are begging for him to come home. I think we can do a swap. I'm not going to name the person. I know there's been rumors about the person. I know the president wants her home. And I'm just saying this needs to be done in very short order.
Yeah, I share your view that there needs to be a louder, a louder call for her release from other athletes, other famous athletes. I think that actually is lacking in this particular moment. There's people like you, folks in elected office and public officials who have spoken out about this, but I really have not seen a critical mass of NBA players, and they're on break. They're not even playing right now, so they have time. I want to turn to the topic of the Supreme Court and the fact that they overturned Roe versus Wade last week. So we're in a completely new world. I'd like to play a little bit of Hillary Clinton talking about the issue, and I'll ask you about it on the other side.
This is going to, I hope, wake up a lot of Americans. I don't care what political party or religion you are. The question is, who decides? Is the government going to be in your bedroom? Is the government going to be making these decisions? We are only at the beginning of this terrible travesty that this court has inflicted on us.
So Hillary Clinton says there that this is only the beginning of the court's intrusion into some of our most personal decisions. Also, the Washington Post is reporting rising frustration among some Democrats who say President Biden and some Democratic leaders are being too cautious in fighting on this issue. How do you see it? Do you agree with what former Secretary Clinton said there? Do you think that the Democrats are doing enough and being clear and strong enough in fighting back against what just happened in the overturning of Roe versus Wade?
Well, I absolutely agree with former Secretary Clinton on the issue that this is only the beginning. I add some additional points as well, and that is, as a lawyer of many years, as someone who is a member when I practiced of the Supreme Court bar, I had such great admiration for this court, the Warren Court, of course, that rendered the Brown decision. The Rehnquist Court, he was a no vote, but that court, dominated by Republicans in 1973, rendered the Roe v. Wade. My impression as a lawyer was that you could go to the Supreme Court and they would be above politicizing and personalizing decisions that impacted the wealth of American people, the widespread population of Americans. We now have a crisis at the court. It is an enormous crisis. It is a decision by the Judge Alito that was so outrageous, of ignoring precious precedent, stare decisis as a term, then to listen to 3 judges in their confirmation hearings, Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, and of course, Kavanaugh, who in their hearings said Roe v. Wade was settled law, and who had the outrageous action of overturning settled law when the law was not abusive. It was not wrong. It was not hurting in terms of its decision, because its decision didn't say women of America will have forced abortions. The decision simply was, you are private in your decision. That's all it was. And that means that this new case has victimized women. I said it in front of the Supreme Court on Friday. They have become victims. They're no longer citizens. They're victims. And they're victims with no rights, no benefits, because you've taken away not only the right of privacy, but the 14th Amendment. So here's the view that I think Democrats should be engaged in. One, we should not view this as political. We should view this as a sense of humanity for the women of this country, irrespective of race or color or creed, but realizing that vulnerable women, poor women, Hispanic women, African-American women are the most burdened, and young women who are now frightened. The potential of women self-aborting raises the potential of death, even more than, as we have seen, the maternal mortality for Black women that we're trying to address. So we've got to act quickly and courageously. It may be that we roll off the filibuster for a moment so we can codify Roe v. Wade. It may be that we expand the court now because, as I said, the credibility, the integrity of the court, it's just been dissolved because of where we are today. And then, of course, there are things of allowing and providing for women to be able to go to safe havens, Those are states that still have the opportunity for reproductive freedom, and then to provide funding for the morning after pill, and to also ensure that contraception is not eliminated as well, and to be on notice for issues dealing with same-sex marriage. But who knows? Maybe the loving case that allowed people of different races to marry. Maybe they'll take that out. Maybe they'll eliminate my right to vote. It's already challenged. We need to understand that the Supreme Court is on a journey that I cannot understand as a lawyer, that they are completely eliminating any sense of integrity to adhere to settled law or to the rights of Americans under the 9th Amendment or equal protection of the law or the 15th Amendment, which has to do with your right to vote. Zerlinda, I think we're in dangerous grounds, and I think we have to be aggressive, courageous, and use the law. Legislators have to use the law to protect the people of this nation.
Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, I really appreciate your thoughts and analysis. Thank you so much for being here and for helping us talk through this issue. Please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.